Great to be with everyone. So this afternoon, this is something Kevin and I get a lot of enjoyment out of. So thanks for joining us. And today we're going to be talking about kitchen remodeling, and we're going to touch on, I think, bathroom, maybe renovations as well today. So it should be interesting. So here are some things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about finding what your style is. We'll talk about budgeting when it comes to cabinetry, countertops, backsplashes and flooring, remodeling timeline, which I loved for Kevin to talk to us about that. And then we'll have some specials also at the end of the presentation today. I love that picture of us. So that's a picture. Obviously, you can see Kevin and I, we've been in the business for a long, long time, 25 years, over 25 years of experience. We are a family-owned business. I'm third generation in the industry. We have a 4.8 star, almost 5-star Google rating on Google. We have an award-winning showroom in Chagrin Falls, and we are professionally licensed. So usually we do these from our office in Chagrin Falls. Mm-hmm. Many people don't know we have a shop located in Solon. Yeah. And we thought that we would take time to present from our shop here in Solon. So we're working from the office here in Solon today. So welcome again. And yeah, good to be in the shop for a change. Most of my time is spent in the showroom. And a lot of times when Kevin and I have to work together, this is where we do it. So here's a little bit as far as our awards and recognition. So our showroom that we were just speaking of was named the best showroom in Cleveland in 2017. And we've won Best of House for 5 years. So we have 5 years that we've won Best of House. So those are our awards and recognition. And for me, to be honest with you, when it comes to awards and recognition, what I like to focus on the most is actually all of our 5-star reviews. If you check us out on Houzz, we have about 55-star reviews now. So we love working with people, and that gives us, that's what we love best. So anyhow, let's talk about finding your style. So when you start to take a look at what your style might be, if you're considering a kitchen or a bathroom renovation, you'll see that most often we can define a style as modern or as classic, contemporary, transitional, that farmhouse style where we're using a lot of those black finishes. So there's a lot that goes into these different styles, and they're not really pigeonholed kind of in one area. So there are some overlaps, and we can talk a little bit further about that as we move forward. But Kevin, what's your favorite style?
So I love contemporary. Contemporary is definitely my favorite. And there's just such great materials to work with, and just how refreshing it is, to the simplicity of the space when it's done properly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I personally, I like transitional. I think transitional gives there's a lot of variety in what we can do in having a really transitional space. And again, part of it, I think, depends on the architecture of your home. So what we love most is giving our clients what best reflects them. So here's a little bit. These are 3 of the cabinet companies that we represent. Kevin, do you mind touching base on each of those 3 lines? I'd love to tell people a little bit more about them.
Yeah, so the cabinet lines that we have, they offer us such a wide spectrum of options, and really what we look at is would we put this product in our own home? We don't represent anything that we want to put in our own home, and that we wouldn't want to stand behind, because we really look for our clients to be lifelong clients. So Dura Supreme is a great semi-custom cabinet line. They can do, they have incredible finish technology, and that's incredibly important in kitchens and baths. With all the chemicals and the water, it's important that the finish can hold up to that, because that's when something fails, it's typically because the finish fails. Holiday Kitchens is another great line. They offer a great price point. It's provides a great value. And then Air is really, it's furniture. It's a lifelong product that you get years of enjoyment out of. Is incredibly well made, and it's really limitless. There are no SKUs with Air. It's they build just what we draw. So we're not limited in any way on how we outside of the realms of physics.
Kevin knows a lot about physics. That's kind of an inside joke,
but no, it's we offer a pretty wide option of the selections.
Yeah. So what I really like about this is that we have real diversity in what we can offer to our clients. So my family's third generation in the cabinet business. So my great uncle was a cabinet maker, and my father was also a cabinet maker. So I grew up in that environment, and I will tell you, there's such a wide range of what's available out there. And just quickly speaking to what Kevin said, a lot of it comes back to the fit and the finish of cabinetry. And we really feel with the cabinet lines that we have, that we represent these cabinet lines because we can stand behind them. There are many brands out there, and there are job shops that build cabinets, but these are companies that are selected because we know that they're going to have long lasting, they'll be very long lasting for our homeowners. So they're going to come with great warranties, and we're not concerned about failure. And as Kevin said, the number one thing you want to look at is the finish. And when you look at other manufacturers, or you look at job shops, especially, unfortunately, the finish technology just isn't there where these the companies that we have that we can stand behind. They're going to have this finish technology that should be very long lasting. And again, even the fit, there's a kitchen cabinet manufacturers association that they are all a part of. And this is very, very important. So here's two more lines. And I like to have these on a separate slide because these are two really, really unique products.
Yeah.
Two of my favorites. I do love all of the products. And as Kevin said, we really do, any of the lines that we represent are cabinetry that we would have in our own home. Any of the products that we have, we want something, we really buy on value. So I don't buy on name and I don't buy on price, I buy on value. And that's really been longstanding in every part of what we do at Kaposi, is really providing an education to our clients and providing the best value. So let's quickly talk about Astor Cucine. So if you take a look at this beautiful picture on the left of a white kitchen, it looks somewhat like an American kitchen. If you look closely, it's an Italian kitchen, and there are details that the Italians do when it comes to cabinetry that just aren't replicatable here in the US. So I think you have all of the American cabinet companies and everything we represent. The heart of what we represent is American. Astor Cucine is the one non-American company that we represent. It's a beautiful line of Italian cabinetry, from very traditional to very contemporary. The clients that like Astor Cucine are clients that want something completely different. They may have lived in Europe for a long time or visit on a regular basis. Those are the people that are, I think, most interested and tend to want Astor Cucine in their kitchen. And we are the only showroom between New York and Chicago to offer Astor Cucine. And if you want something ultra contemporary, that's really where we want to take you. But we can do really nice contemporary with American cabinets as well.
Yeah, Astor Cucine has really kind of been innovative in the Italian market. They offer such a wide style of products, from very contemporary to traditional. And I love this image for Astor Cucine because a lot of times when you think of Italian cabinetry, you think of glass and high gloss. But what's interesting about this image for Astor is that they have such a unique approach to their style and function of their cabinetry versus a traditional American. So I think this image really speaks volumes.
It does. It does. And then we have nature casts. So this is waterproof outdoor cabinetry. So believe it or not, there are cabinets being made today, as you see here, that look very much like you would see um, inside in an indoor kitchen. So for those that are looking at putting an outdoor kitchen in, they become extremely popular. Obviously, people aren't traveling, but they want to have a staycation. This is really the ultimate in a staycation. So we're seeing more and more people that are putting in outdoor kitchens. So it's really exciting, something new and exciting. And if it's done properly, you can use it for many, many months out of the year, even here in Ohio. So I think this is really interesting too. I think that people always want to know, what does it cost to remodel a kitchen, and what is involved in that? Where does all of this money go? So I think it's important to have an understanding of what that looks like. Now, what you see here in this kind of this donut is this is based on national averages. I think one thing that isn't really talked about when you look at this is the age of the home is really going to play a lot when it comes to the installation.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of work in the Cleveland Heights, Shaker Heights area, and these areas where we have these majestic older homes approaching 100 years of age, and that installation number can be significantly different than what you see here.
Yeah, and if we're making structural changes to the house, or there's so many variables in remodeling, but I think that this is a good starting point, a good thing to build from. You could be in another room, like a bathroom, and your cabinet percentage could be 5% of the project, and then your plumbing could be 20-30% of the project. So there's a lot of variables.
There's a lot of variables. And I think the other thing to keep in mind in this is, so often when people renovate a kitchen, especially a kitchen, not as much a bathroom, but when renovating a kitchen, it's easier to kind of pull out what you have and replace what you have without making, without making changes to footprints. Many times people want to make changes to the footprint of the kitchen or the bathroom, but that's where those costs, especially the installation and obviously other things, can be impacted by that as well. But this is really based on what we call a pull and replace. That means we're pulling out what you have in there, we're keeping the footprint, and we're replacing what you had. So those numbers get skewed when you start making changes. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, a lot of times we do change the footprint just because the way that people live today is a lot different than how they lived 20 years ago. When that kitchen was built, it was probably adequate for the storage needs that they had, or the how that kitchen was being utilized. But today it can be significantly different.
Yes, significantly different, and always interesting, and looking at even what we can do, taking a space that is 20, 50, 100 years old and turning it into something that's extremely functional and livable for the way we live today. So it's really fun. We were out on a couple of our projects this morning, seeing those transformations happen.
Yeah.
So I think this is really a great thing to take a look at too. I love this because when we look at what affects the cost of, when you're looking at renovating. So a couple things to talk about here. The first one that we see highlighted is really that door type. So Kevin, do you want to speak a little bit to the door type?
Yeah, I think this is often one of the most confusing to people when they're first starting to, if they've never renovated before and they just start looking at cabinetry, and they look at the cabinetry and they say, why is this one so much more than another one? And there's a lot of variables in that. So for door type, like that flat panel on the left that we're looking at there, that's a 1/4 inch veneered panel set into a frame, versus the one next to it where there's a significantly amount of real wood, not a veneered wood, but like a wood that's encaptured into that frame. The cabinet doors themselves are one of the leading price points for cabinet lines. So it can make a big difference. And then slab doors offers not only a contemporary look, but it also offers how would you say,
Savings?
a savings for homeowners.
Yeah, and the one thing I do want to speak to, so I think, what we try and do again is during these presentations is to give you some education and some understanding, knowing that there's more that goes into it, obviously more than what we're touching on today, but that slab can really be a lot of different things. That can be a veneer, that can be a solid slab of wood, that can be a textured melamine, that can be, so there's a lot of variables here, which again can be into, we can talk about further when it's finishes and what have you. But right now I would say that these are still that kind of that shaker style, like the flat panel is still, I would say, what people are looking for most. And there are many variables of that, but again, that flat panel.
And for different applications, like a slab door is going to be a lot more stable in a high humidity location.
Yeah, we could go on and on. I think about that. So Kevin, it would be great if you could talk a little bit about partial and full and even frameless.
Yeah,
so when it comes to cabinet construction that we see here.
So cabinet construction, so there's three main types. There is your face frame, your frameless, and then there's a hybrid where it has kind of a combination of the two. So, and the frameless offers more storage space because it gives a wider interior dimension than a face frame does, because the face frame takes up the dimension from the inside, so it makes all your openings a little bit smaller, as well as like going into like an inset cabinet, where an inset cabinet would have more smaller openings.
Yeah, so it's rare that we're doing a lot of inset these days, so I didn't really want to show that on the slide because it's just not something we're doing much of, but it is something that's out there. And when it comes to frameless, it's going to look a lot like the full overlay that you see on the right side. So again, speaking to what Kevin said, when it comes to frameless, it really covers almost that entire frame. The difference between that and full overlay is that full overlay, again, covers the frame, but there is a frame. Just like you see on the left, that partial overlay, you can see on the white kitchen with what is that floor? Probably a cherry floor. That partial overlay, which is going to be less expensive, where you see more of the frame. So that's going to be the least expensive. Full overlay will be a little more, and then frameless will be a little more, and will have a similar look to the full overlay. But as Kevin said, you're going to maximize storage in a frameless cabinet. Next, let's take a look at finishes. So, it's funny, for years we were doing a lot of white kitchens. White kitchens are still extremely popular, but we are seeing move back towards stained finishes, which you'll see that at the top. So you have stained finishes available. You have stain and glaze finishes, which I think it's interesting because it really does change the look of the finish significantly. It's funny, when you add that glaze, it really can provide some depth and really change the look of the overall color. It's amazing how that little bit can add that.
Yeah, just that dimension that it adds.
It does. It does. And then as we just mentioned, we still do a lot with paint finishes. And then still we have some clients, again, in very traditional areas where we're working on kitchens or bathroom cabinetry, where we're doing paint with a glaze and a rub through. So it brings a whole nother dimension, and that's definitely in that traditional, and even in transitional spaces, it can be done if it's done right. The one thing I will tell you is, I don't know how you feel, but the finish makes a very big, obviously, a difference in how you can achieve the style that you're looking for. But part of it also comes down to the practicality and what works well for your family. And we would speak obviously more to that as well. So before we're making decisions on finishes, there's a lot of questions that really need to get answered as to how you're going to live in the space, not just the style, your style, but how impervious do these finishes need to be, to wear and tear. Always a good conversation. Do you want to talk a little bit about the wood species?
So wood species is an important thing to really consider. So like if you look at the hickory door, where there's a lot of variation in the styles, between the styles and the rails, that's characteristic of hickory. And that's a great look, but you just have to be expecting that. The naughty alder, where it has the knots in it. And then even some stains will take differently depending on if you're looking for like a dark stain, some of the woods take those stains a little bit better. So looking at like a red oak with a dark stain versus a maple with a dark stain, that same stain is going to really be shown off differently. And as well as you can see the grain in the red oak versus how much more prominent it is than the maple. And it really lends back to style.
It really does. So much of it. But I think the one thing to always keep in mind is when you're working with wood, it is a natural material. There are always going to be variations. And that's really the beauty of wood, is that there are some variations in it. You just have to know what to expect ahead of time. And there are different grades of wood. And I think often that's just not talked about today.
That's true.
So often people don't even realize that there are different grades of wood when it comes to your cabinet doors or your frames. And again, you get what you pay for. So something may be significantly less or somewhat less. And there are things that go into that a lot of people don't realize. And one of the things is the grade of the wood that gets used.
Yeah, so different cabinet lines, they will only purchase certain grades. So you can get an all wood cabinet from one cabinet line, and then the same all wood cabinet from another could be a completely different grade of wood because they buy a better grade, and that's all going to come out in the finish.
That is correct. Yeah, and there's a difference in cost, and many times, probably 90% of homeowners looking to renovate have no idea there's even a difference in the grading of wood. Okay, so let's take a look at countertops and just quickly touch on a natural stone versus an engineered quartz composite. So I think it's really interesting. You can see if you take a look at the screen, you can really see the differences between the material comparisons between granite and the quartz composite. So for a long time, of course, quartz was really gaining steam, and I would say it still is. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah,
But
sure.
I do think that there's absolutely a place for natural stone. Stones can be sealed, so it can definitely have more a little more maintenance when it comes to a natural stone. But I think again, in working with professionals, a lot of it comes down to the wearability, the maintenance, and then the style, because so often things can kind of go off the rails when it comes to renovating. If you're not working with a professional, very often people fall in love with this material and this cabinet. It doesn't necessarily mean they work together. And when you're working with professionals, what we really do very, very well at is making sure that all of these materials complement each other. And when working with a professional, I think it's important to know that when the project is finished, you should have a larger return on life and a larger return on your investment. That's what we strive for all of our clients. So when we're putting those materials together and those solutions together, we want them to have a long lasting impact on your life and to be positive. And when people come in and look at it, everything is fitted and it works well and complements. It's kind of like, in a way, putting together, a piece of music. We really want that that flow and that rhythm. And I feel like that's a big part of what we do,
Mhm.
because we don't want to, you know, a kind of that wrong note here or there. So
Yeah.
it's the details.
Yeah, and selecting materials like this, it's important that it fits the application, because sometimes the application that you want to put it in, another material might be better suited for that application,
This is true.
because there's definitely differences in characteristics that for overhangs, for durability, for heat, different things like that.
Yeah, so when we're working with clients, we really are looking at so many different facets. So not just how is it going to look, but as Kevin said, how is it going to function, and what all is involved in this. So when we're looking at renovating a space, it truly is engineering the entire space and making sure that those materials that are procured are proper for that application. And that's so important. And I think often it just gets overlooked. We
Yeah.
see things on HDTV and we get really excited, and
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work, or that it's going to have
Mhm.
be long lasting, or a long term investment for you. And that's really what we work really, really
Mhm.
hard at making sure
Yeah.
for our own clients that that's really important, because this is a really big investment. You
Yeah.
know, a kitchen or a bathroom is going to be the largest investments that you make in your home typically. So you want to make sure that that's invested properly, no matter
Mhm.
what your investment amount is. And I think
Mhm.
also having a realistic expectation of what should be invested in the renovation to make the most of it.
Yeah. And it's important to also look at the longevity of the design, or the longevity of the solution that was presented. Is it going to meet your needs? Because of the cost of it, it's important that whatever is being done isn't something that's going to be torn out because it no longer fits your lifestyle or your family or your needs.
Yeah. I agree. It's yeah, it's interesting. We have a client we're working with right now, and they have a bathroom that was renovated 4 years ago, and they're looking at we're tearing out almost everything except for the shower. And it's because it was such a big investment, but it's very, very dated in our eyes. And again, because we're in this, we see this
Mhm.
every day, and we're professionals that we do at what we do. We're always looking at what's coming. We want to give you what's coming, not what's dated, or what even what homeowners see is we're looking 1 to 2 years into the future. And
Yeah.
that's really where our designs go. Um, great. Why don't you talk a little bit about Benchmark Home Services and these other projects, small projects that we do as well with Benchmark.
Yeah, so Benchmark Home Services was really born out of the need from our clients to have a longer longevity of service that we offer them. So with Benchmark, we're able to offer a long-term relationship with our clients to help them maintain their home with great tradesmen that work for us, and just to enjoy their home at work more worry-free.
Correct. So we have some clients that come to us. So as Kevin's saying, we have some clients that we've worked with, and Benchmark was really born out of that kind of that honeydew list. We're working in their home on a long-term, renovation, and they start to get to know us and they like us. And so they have other projects that need done in the home. So we're happy to help them with that. And that's how Benchmark was born. So now we have Benchmark, which offers these smaller projects. So maybe you don't want a large renovation,
Mhm.
but you have this honeydew list, or you want to change just the countertop and the backsplash, or maybe you want some built-ins, or these small projects that don't need a lot of design, but they need really pro tradesmen to be there to do the work properly, and a company to stand behind it to make sure that it's, again, that we're here for the long haul,
Yeah.
small projects to large projects. We even do we do additions as well. So we really are here to service you from these basic projects through that design build, when it comes even to additions. And kitchens and baths are really where we started. My passion started in cabinetry at the cabinet shop. It's funny, the other day someone said to me, how long have you, how long, when did you start in the business? when you were 10 years old? And I'm thinking, when you think about it, right? I wasn't in the business that long, but I was around that, and this is what I was raised in. And we do have a passion for it. We love what we do. We love
Mhm.
serving clients, and we love making spaces the best that they can be, and doing what we can to really provide an experience for our homeowners that is stress-free, knowing that they're working with truly with professionals that are there to service them and take care
Mhm.
of them. This is great. I feel like this is really this is good. I think to kind of talk through, because this is always interesting to talk about a
Yeah.
timeline, because when you're looking at a renovation project,
Mhm.
we often get that question of how long does it take, right, to renovate. Do you want to talk a little bit about? I guess let me start at the beginning, because usually what happens is people either they call in, they're referred to us by a friend or a neighbor, or maybe they've walked past the showroom, or they've seen something somewhere on House or what have you. So usually schedule an appointment to talk by Zoom is what we typically do. And we want to get a real understanding of, okay, what is it that you're looking for? What are your goals for your project? And really, what is that budget? That's a really important part of the conversation that we need to have right at the beginning. Because again, I think so often people have this you get really excited, and you should. It's a great thing to do. Renovating is life changing, right? But you want to have realistic expectations of what your budget will afford you. So I think that's a really important part of the conversation right up front, because you don't want to have an expectation of this, or have all of these wants that are here, and really, does the budget meet with what your wants are? So we want to help you with that. If you don't have that figured out, it's certainly something that we can help walk you through, and
Mhm.
give you some resources on that. And typically what happens is, after that, if you decide that you want to proceed and working with us, and you're comfortable with our firm, and we've had a couple meetings, we've come out to your home, and then we would enter into a design agreement if it's a full kitchen and bath renovation that needs design service. Again, we have benchmark that if it's, oh, I want to, tear out my basic kitchen, and I want to put a similar kitchen in with, maybe some nice accessories, or changing the cabinets some, but if we're not doing a footprint change, then benchmark can handle that. And we're really skipping the design phase. If we're looking at Capozzi, we're going to enter into a design agreement, and that is based on 10% of your budget. And then we're really going to work through those plans and what the plans look like. I think that's really, really important. It can take a month or two to develop that. And then once we have everything finalized, then we're ordering cabinets and countertops. When it comes to installation, we have a great team of installers. Do you want to
Yeah.
speak to anything on that side of things?
Yeah, so we started off saying that we were working out of Solon here. So in Solon, we have a warehouse space. We like to start a project when everything is in. With the pandemic, there has been supply chain disruptions that has been so much more than anticipated. But we have a warehouse. We stage out. This is where our guys are dispatched from. They come in. We have planning meetings, training meetings here. So once everything starts coming in, then we start building our schedule and working up into that countertop installation. Because once we get everything set and ready for countertop, um, those the cabinet or the counters are laser measured, and it's like a 2-week delay from getting the counters. And once we get to everything is set, we're close to having everything, all the finished materials installed. So, and then that gets us down to unpack and enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. So for us, it really comes down to the number one thing is communication from step one all the way through, or phase one all the way through phase 6, right? So that communication
Mhm.
is really key. So I think we're going to end with our January 2021 promotions that you see here. So I think the last time we might have offered this 10% off of the quartz composite countertops. I think that we're going to do that as well this month. So if you're looking at that, again, a refresh or a renovation of of a kitchen or even a bathroom, we can offer you that 10% off of the quartz countertops. There's some great new colors that have come out, really beautiful, and finishes as well.
Mhm.
Or if you're looking at an easy bathroom renovation and that's something you're interested in, then we're offering a free granite countertop up to 36 inches with that bathroom renovation. So obviously, we're going to have some colors that apply to that, and we are here to serve you. We're happy to serve you, and this is something that Kevin and I really always do enjoy. So I'm excited if you have questions. I think Nora is going to help us with those questions. We're happy to answer any questions that anybody may have today.
And thank you for joining us today.
Yes, I am checking the question, guys. Just
Great.
1 second. Okay, we got some from Facebook.
Okay.
So the first question is, what's new in kitchen cabinet world and what are the trends for 2021?
Woo, okay.
Mhm.
Black.
Contrast.
Contrast. Yeah, no, black, matte black. We're seeing a lot matte black cabinetry. We're actually we're in the middle of 2 renovations and we're using with matte black cabinetry. And as Kevin said, contrast. So that's perfect way to say it. So that kind of that black and white look. The matte black is we saw it for a long time, or it's been around for a few years in hardware and your plumbing and what have you. And now we're really seeing it in cabinetry. And the other thing that I think is really interesting is in appliances. We're seeing is it called black stainless?
Black stainless.
Black
yeah.
stainless in appliances. I think that's really, really interesting as well. So a bit of a move away from that kind of that shiny stainless that we're used to. That is a very, very that's becoming popular. And it's really quite lovely.
And the matte finishes, there's a paint matte finish, as well as there's a new material out that it's really exciting to see. It's just it creates a self-healing surface that's just beautiful.
Yeah. So the technology, again, at these different price points, and depending on what our clients are looking for, we're going to have a lot, some different options. So even when it comes to matte black, there are different ways to achieve that, and that all comes at different price points. But technology is certainly taking us in places, even in the kitchen and bath industry, into places that we could never, have imagined before.
Okay. Do you want to go on with the next question?
Yes.
Okay. So, which kitchen cabinets are easy to clean?
Okay, so it's funny because a little bit ago you mentioned, are there harsh chemicals? Do you want to speak to this, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with how you cook. So, like what kind of spices are you using? What kind of cooking are you doing? Are you doing a lot of braising and, creating smoke, or are you doing a lot of heating? So I think that, how you're going to maintain that has to you really have to look at, how that's being utilized,
I totally agree with Kevin. And I will tell you that paint finishes are the most delicate. I think that's a good way to put it. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Light paint finishes, you're going to see fingerprints, you're going to see dirt. And again, if it's not maintained properly, a painted finish will fail before anything. When it comes, stains just have a longer lasting finish because of the top coats that they're able to use on a stained cabinet versus a painted cabinet. And those are the most popular, by far, those are the most popular. We're starting to see move towards thermofoil. which we saw that way back in the day, and it's coming back around, and it's kind of the second generation. And that is basically a thin version of a laminate. And that's very cleanable, but again, you will get what you pay for. So some of those products that are coming out, I would say you have to be really careful because they can peel very easily. And then, depending on the manufacturer, other manufacturers are going to have the proper technology so that it will last much longer.
Okay, so we have a question from our Zoom viewer, Mindy Sand. And it says, does the black stainless in a farmer sink and hardware? I didn't get the question, but maybe you can mention a bit more about the black stainless.
Yes, so the black stainless, I've not seen black stainless in a sink, but yes, black stainless is available in hardware. Yes,
And you can get a black farmer sink,
but not black stainless.
but it wouldn't be stainless. Yeah.
Not black stainless,
yeah.
correct. Not that I have seen.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that it's not out there, but anything at this point, no. And black stainless is very, I don't want to say it's very new, but I would say it's pretty new.
Yeah, for sure.
And we have another question. How long will the kitchen cabinets last?
Okay, so Kevin, do you want to speak to that a little? Because again,
Yeah.
it kind of comes back to the quality, and there's
Yeah.
a lot to that.
Yeah. So it depends on, again, how it's being used, how many people are using it, the construction that you have. Do you have a mass-produced cabinet or a semi-custom, or do you have something that's truly made like furniture? Like a furniture piece is going to last longer. It's a lot better construction.
So, and I think that there's a lot that goes into that. So, one thing is, you have the cabinet sides and how thick are they, and what is the material? You have the cabinet hinges, and
Yeah.
so you can have the same brand of hinge, but it does not make them all equal. So again, I would say buyer beware. Just because you really have to do your research or work with a reputable a reputable firm that's going to stand behind it and has vetted these companies and can educate you, because there's so many variables. It's not like deciding between, it's not like you can look online and decide, okay, this cabinet's equivalent to a Mercedes and this one's equivalent to a Kia. You really are relying on professionals that can educate you to help walk you through those differences, because there are so many variables. Even as Kevin said, when it comes to the box construction, the drawers, the guides, the hinges, what is the warranty from the manufacturer? How long's the manufacturer been around? I mean, for us, we're looking at not only, like what's the stability of the companies that we work with, because back in 2008, there were companies that we worked with that were here today and they were literally gone tomorrow. And then we're here for the long term, and we want to provide quality products and quality service. So, and it is through vetting these companies and having a true understanding through, our education in knowing what products will have that long life, and being able to educate our clients to help them understand even what works best for their budget, or giving them options that make sense for their budget.
Yeah.
It's not a one size fits all.
Yeah. And a lot of times when I see a space where the life cycle was short, a lot of times it's because the product wasn't the right application. It wasn't used in the right application. So, if you put a cabinet into like a high moisture environment and it really wasn't made for that, it's going to fall apart. Or maybe based on how much use that kitchen's getting, or how you're cooking, and you put, finished materials that just aren't going to withstand that. That's usually when we see short life cycles.
I agree.
So we got another question from Facebook. What is the best color for a small kitchen area?
I think part of it depends on, is there natural light? There's a lot that goes into that as well. But I think again, it's in a general sense, I would say keeping it light will make it look bigger. I hope that's enough of it, an answer. But yes, keeping it light is going to make the space look and
Yeah.
feel bigger.
Okay, and then we have another question from Zoom. It's a long one. My stove and refrigerator are side by side on an inside wall. I know this will change the footprint to move outside wall. How difficult this to do?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think a lot of times having a stove right next to a refrigerator doesn't meet guidelines that we follow, and a lot of times when you're renovating, you want to fix those kind of flaws, really from the beginning. How that impacts, what it's going to take to move that is very site specific. Anywhere from, what's it take to move those mechanical needs to service those appliances, as well as if, what obstructions or what limitations that space has. But that's a great question.
Yeah, and as Kevin said, it's really site specific. So again, when we're doing, there's, I don't want to generalize, but the older the home, often the more expensive it is because there's more that it takes to get kind of up to date or up to code. But as he said, it's very site specific. What's below that? How far is it going? Are there any obstructions? So there's really a lot to that question. And without seeing it, there's really not a good, fair answer.
Okay, guys, that's it. So you have any final words?
I don't think so. Just thank you so much.
Yeah.
As I said, this is something we look forward to and enjoy very much. I hope everybody found it to be informative and helpful. And if you have any other questions, is there a way, Nora, that they can reach out afterwards if they have questions or if they'd like to talk about a consultation? Is it really just reaching out through the website?
Yes, they whichever they prefer, but we also have like the names from the questions.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Fine. Okay, that sounds great. Well, thank you all for joining us this afternoon, and we're off to another project in progress. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.